With the handouts that I gave you, I just wanted to kind of point out a couple of other things. I know we're all graduate students in here and that we can read, so I'm not going to read this for you, but I want to bring your attention to the one that is on one side identifying periodical types and the other about the importance of journals in the sciences. And this ultimately, we have different types of journals, different types of periodicals, and it's important for you to know the difference between them. And so I've got this sort of short definition of all three of them there. And the importance of the journals and the sciences repeats a lot of that information, but talks a little bit about why journals and the sciences are so important. And a lot of it has to do with how quickly things are published in journals. There should be another handout on one side that's the PHL versus the PEF. And on the other side is distant students' ILL requests. And these just are kind of to go in conjunction with what I talked about already. The PHL versus the PEF gives you sort of written instructions on how to get to each of them. And the other, on the back side, it's a little bit of information about interlibrary loan, which Linda just talked about. Okay, now there are a couple of other things that I want to mention, and then I will be happy to take any questions that you might have afterwards. And ultimately, I've got two programs that I want to talk about. The first is the TexShare program. Is anybody familiar with the TexShare program? Okay. The TexShare program is a program that we participate in where you, as a student, can get what's called a TexShare card. And this is sort of like a general library card. So what you can do with a TexShare card, it's first of all based on your enrollment, so you have to get a new one every semester. But with a TexShare card, you can go to UT, you can go to UTPB, you can go to A&M, and you can use their library in the sense that you can access the materials in-house, but also you can check out books from those libraries. So it's a really great service, especially for distance ed students that maybe happen to be in the neighborhood of Abilene or something like that. Most academic libraries participate in TexShare, and also big public libraries participate in TexShare. If you look at the handout that I gave you on the TexShare program here at Sul Ross, it will give you more information about it. It'll also give you a couple of links. And the TexShare homepage actually has a list of all the libraries that participate. So if you happen to be going to Houston this weekend and you want to know whether or not there are any libraries in Houston that use the TexShare card, look at that and it will tell you. I highly recommend using the TexShare card if you do a lot of traveling, or if you happen to be going to spend a lot of time in Austin or something like that. I mean, it's a great resource, and that way you can don't necessarily have to be tied to the Sul Ross library. One thing about TexShare, and I have this question a lot, is you won't be able to access UT's electronic resources remotely. You'd have to use them there on campus in the library. If you need to use remotely access materials, you have to use Sul Ross's materials. And I did give you this handout, but on the library homepage, right underneath interlibrary loan document delivery, well, not right underneath, I guess it's the last one, is a link for the TexShare card. So that does give you more information about it. And then, we've got a form online, here it is. And then here you can apply online. So you can actually just fill out this information. You can also come to the information desk and fill out a paper form, but you can access this as well. You just fill that out, and then we'll get you the TexShare card. If you are on campus, you can come in and pick it up. Also, we'll mail it to you if you're off campus. So it's a really good service. I'd highly recommend that. Also, I want to point out on the library's homepage a couple of other things that you might want to look at some point. I have quite a few things I've put together under instructional materials and tutorials. I have, for example, I think you need it, Linda. I have several tutorials on how to use the online catalog, for example, and some of these other resources that I've given you today. If you lose the sheet, you'll be able to get to that there as well. So you might look at instructional materials and tutorials. Also, take a look at the internet resources at some point. One of the things that I do is I actually go out there on the web and collect internet resources that aren't junk. So I actually have gone through and said, okay, these are good internet resources, they're useful for research. And I've got several of them. I'm always adding to them. So, you know, if you look at it today, you come back in a month, it'll be different because I do add to that all the time. So there are a couple of other things to check out as well. And then plenty of information on the library's homepage, so you might want to look at that. Also, my library account, Linda sort of alluded to that a little bit ago. You can check on my library account, and you can actually look to see what books you have checked out. You can renew materials from here as well, so that's something that you might need. For your My Library account, you'll need your library PIN number, and that's different from your banner PIN number. So if you don't have your library PIN number, you can either call the help desk, or it's easier just to call the library, and we can give you your library PIN number, and that's it. We can only give you your library PIN number. So be aware of that as well. All right, now, does anybody have any questions about any of those services? Okay, the final thing that I want to just briefly talk about is the library's role in the thesis process. And basically what the deal is that we are only involved at a very, very basic level, okay? And I have actually sort of a press release that I was given to officially about our role that I wanted to kind of read here. And that is that the library gets involved only in the binding of the thesis. So when you actually get it done and you get it submitted and you need to get it bound, that's where we get involved. However, we end up having problems with this because forms aren't filled out correctly, because, you know, things don't get paid on time and that sort of stuff. So we sort of get in the mix of it, even though it's not really our responsibility, just because we're kind of the last people. So if you have problems, you can come and talk to us, but chances are we're probably going to refer you to someone else. The department is responsible for approving the content and preparation of the thesis according to SOLROS and departmental guidelines. So it's not our job to do any of the editing, okay? So make sure that it's edited properly beforehand. The university requires it, and this is currently, now this may be changing at some point because we're looking at electronic things, but right now the library requires 3 bound copies be made. One for the library, one for the archives, and one for the department. The thesis fee, and of course the fee could change now at any time too, but right now the thesis fee of $200 covers 4 copies. Those 3 that I just mentioned and one for the student. If you need additional copies, they're $25 a piece. So think about whether or not your grandma and your dad and your mom and your uncle and your aunt and everybody else needs one. These and any other copies the students want should be taken, and this is what I have right now. This could have changed, but I think it's probably correct. Taken to Virginia Carrillo in Dr. Cora's office on the 2nd floor of the admin building. She is the one that collects the thesis monies and sends the unbound thesis to the library. Now, when we receive the unbound copy, we check for obvious problems like missing signature pages that are upside down, and believe me, we've had that happen before, so things like that. However, the student should assume that each copy will be bound exactly as submitted. So that means if the conclusion is left out, it'll be bound that way. Also, any materials such as CDs, maps with data, or anything like that, they'll be inserted into a pocket in the back of the thesis. We then send the unbound copy of the thesis to ProQuest to microfilm and put online. This step is where the biggest delays occur, as the forms required by ProQuest must be filled out correctly for them to proceed. Specifically, any place that says something is optional, like whether there should be an embargo or making the thesis available online, must be filled out, even if the answer is no or does not apply. So make sure that you've got everything filled out correctly. And then other copies are sent to the bindery and mailed to the student when they are returned. This process can take several weeks. So that's just kind of an overview. The last page of the handout that I gave you is sort of, it's a library in-house checklist, but I thought that it might be useful for you as well, just to see the kinds of things that we're looking for when you get ready to do your thesis. And I don't know like what sort of where you are in yours, but I can tell you right now, I'm working on my thesis, so this is very important to me. All right, does anybody have any questions about anything that either me or Linda talked about today? Okay, I know that it's a lot of information, and the thing is, the reason I gave you my card is because I do know that it is a lot of information. It's my job to help you, so if you have any questions, don't hesitate to call me, email me, stop by my office. I'm more than happy to make an appointment with you if you don't feel like you're doing very well in your literature research and you need some guidance with that. So I'm more than happy to make an appointment, and like I said, you can always just drop by as well. So I thank everybody for your attendance and your attention today. I do appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.